And Angie writes this, that's Mariah's mother: as a parent, what I had found out later shocked me. I thank God every day that at a crossroads in her life, he was faithful and reached out to her, and she reached back to him. Angie, thank you for coming in. Thank you for bringing your daughter in. And you said during a break, she had to have that device taken away from her before you realized the addiction and the obsession.
Yes, it was very shocking to see how addicted she was to it when we took it away from her.
So what was your first thought when you realized, first of all, you had to take it away from her? What were you seeing that you decided this has to go?
Well, it was sort of the event that happened, and then when we realized what she had done, we decided we needed to take it from her. And then in the process of trying to get it from her, she just went absolutely crazy and went into a real panic attack and was trying to run.
This totally surprised you?
Totally surprised me. Totally surprised me. She did not want to be separated from that. It was her world, her social, her friends, her everything. And it was when I grounded her from that for a month, I had to fight my own anxiety as a parent.
Right.
Because it was my point of contact with her. We're so used to that instant communication with our kids that we feel like I was going to let her have it just during the school day so she could contact me if she needed me, but I had to fight that myself and stick to that month of grounding her from that because she needed to be separated from that. And I think we're so used to that instant communication that we forget that there's phones in schools, that if anything happens, she could get a hold of me.
You say grounding her for a month from everything was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but I knew I had to do it to save her. What were you saving her from?
When I saw what it had done to her, I realized that it was changing who she was, and I had to save her from the depression and the darkness that she had gone into. When I saw what it had done to her, I knew that separating her from that, she had to come out of that. I don't know how to describe it other than it was like an addiction. She went into depression, and it was just hard to see her go through that.
You, as we said in the previous segment, you would go into her room in the morning and you'd pray with her. Mm-hmm. And I made the point that I think this is what made a huge difference in Mariah's life, is the fact that you prayed with her, you read the Bible every day. Mm-hmm. You are a strong Christian home. You and your husband, Mariah, her brother, strong Christian home. Mm-hmm. Did it surprise you that seemed to be the Lord of her life was really social media?
Oh, absolutely. And, the first night I stayed awake all night because I didn't know if she was going to run away. And I just really prayed all night long and asked God to give me direction with her. And, I'd go down and I'd pray with her, and she, like she said earlier, she didn't want anything to do with it. And then about the third or fourth day, she would roll over and pray with me, and I would read a couple of verses out of the Bible to just help her, Psalms, and, just try to give her something to focus on for the day. And then over time, she was like, that really helps me. It helps me to be calm during the day. Thank you, Mom, for doing that. And as the month progressed, it was just amazing to see how she just flourished as a person and just became who she was, who I knew her to be, personality and everything.
How long had it been since she was that person?
I can't really put my finger on it because, when she was around us, she was fine. And then, I guess I didn't notice. We all get busy with life. I work full time, and I would make dinner, see her for a brief moment, and didn't realize she was disappearing into this social media world. I had no idea she had thousands of followers, and that the goal on Facebook was to have as many friends as possible and people she didn't even know. And I think as parents, we sort of take our eye off the ball because they're being entertained by something else, but we don't have any idea what they're into.
Well, you said in this little item that you wrote up here, Angie, you said parents feel like they have to get children their phones so they can text their friends, whatever. Are you saying that parents just plain feel obligated that they have to get their kids these phones? Or what did you mean there? They have to get children phones so they can text their friends?
Nobody calls the house phone anymore. It's all the communication that kids do now is texting and social media. And without that, they don't communicate. So if you don't have a cell phone, then you're not part of that group conversation. You don't know what's going on. So I think I felt when I gave her her phone that it was basically a way for her to be able to communicate with me, but then it became how she communicated with all of her friends. And I think that's the way it is nowadays.
What advice, Angie, can you give to other parents and grandparents who are listening who may be identifying a little bit with this? They may be at a point, maybe they don't realize that their kid or grandkid is sounding a lot like your daughter Mariah. What kind of advice do you have for them?
I would challenge parents to get involved with their kids and their phones and find out what social media they have. Be aware of that, learn about it, understand it, know who they're communicating with. And if you use it as a tool for discipline, like you ground them from their phone for a week or whatever, see what impact it has on their life. And if it throws them into a tailspin and they can't function without it, then there's a problem. And I think you need to find a workaround for that. Why do they feel that way? Do they feel like that's their only connection? Is that how they are popular at school? Or whatever that connection is, find out what it is before it takes a hold of them like it did with Mariah.
Yeah, I mean, this is an incredible story. We have no way of knowing, I guess, if Mariah, if her experience is fairly typical. Can you compare, to her friends?
Yes, and I know some parents who tried to ground their kids from their phones, and it was such a battle, they gave in and just said, okay, we'll ground them from something else. I mean, it's just easy to give into that because it requires different parenting when you take that device away. And I also noticed that it's getting younger and younger that parents are buying cell phones for kids. It's 9, 10 years old, and a 9-year-old I know has Instagram, and her mom didn't even really know what it was or who she was following.
I'm sure. I'm not sure I know what Instagram is.
I don't really know what it is, but I think parents need to be aware of what social media are they involved in and who are they talking to, and be a part of that for sure.
Mariah, what advice would you give to some young people listening today? Now, you've given advice through your testimony and your story. You've given some good tips here, but is there any kind of bullet points you would end with here as far as a warning, as far as encouragement? How do you want to go out of this interview?
Just for sure, not letting social media control your life. I mean, if you have social media, keep it at a healthy distance instead of letting it overcome who you are and basically controlling your whole life, because even people my age now, especially my generation, that's their whole world. So people my age, it's hard to communicate with. When you see them in public, if you say hi, that's weird to them. They look down and they won't say hi back. Someone of an older age, for instance, would say, oh, hi, and communicate back with you, have a conversation. But nowadays it's all over social media and texting. Nobody knows how to hold a conversation. It's all over internet, social media, texting, technology. So I would just say, try not to let it control your life. What did people do before they had cell phones? And I mean, come on.
How did we make it, Angie? I don't know. How did we manage?
Well, we learned to talk to each other.
Exactly.
And even in difficult relationships or people who aren't as easy to talk to, we learned how to have relationships with those people.
Larry Kutzler, you wanted to weigh in.
Well, I was just interested to know from Mariah, how has her life changed in the 3 years that she's kind of managed this now? I mean, does she talk more with everyone around her, or how has that changed?
When I go into public places, I'm not on my phone. I usually have my phone in my purse, or if it's not with me, then I communicate with people better. I say hello, like, how's your day? Try and brighten people's day, but I just hold a conversation with them because it's easy for me, because I'm not constantly over social media trying to communicate with people. So I know how it is to communicate with people on a daily basis, which is a normal living concept.
And she interacts more with the family. She's down with us more and has better relationship with family.
Yeah.
She's not stuck in her room.
No.
And I know from your testimony that because you said to me, and I don't know if it was privately or not, but one thing that really broke your heart was the fact that you broke your grandmother's heart.
Oh, yeah. That was really, really, really hard on me. Oh, I'm probably going to lose it. That was really, really hard for me.
But that was a turning point.
For sure.
Mom, what did you think about that?
Yeah, it was Mother's Day that this all went down, and it was at my mom's house. And my mom was heartbroken because the Mariah that she knew had changed. That really impacted Mariah, and I appreciate that she loves her grandparents so much and has let it be a positive influence on her life.
Absolutely, and I happen to know that grandmother of yours, Mariah. She's a wonderful person.
Yeah.
I want to thank you both for coming in today, because I think you've opened the eyes of a lot of people. You've opened my eyes. I come from a different generation. Angie, you're a different generation, even though we both use electronics all the time. You're writing, you're emailing me, you're texting me all the time, but we weren't stuck in a generation that was going to get addicted to this kind of thing.
Right.
I just know that listeners, I think they've had their eyes open. Some have anyway today. And I want to thank you for being so honest, for being so, what you wrote here is just tremendous. And I took a lot of my talking points just from what you wrote.
Yeah.
So you were extremely blunt with your the mistakes you made and everything like that.
Yeah.
And Angie, you too, were extremely honest with being a mom who just, you couldn't imagine this was happening to your own. She was trying to throw herself out of your car as you were driving.
Yes.
Because she wanted to end her life because you had just told her you were going to take this phone away, and it was inconceivable in her mind to go on in life without it.
Right. And I think that the fact that she responded so well at that crossroads in her life, that she turned back to God when he was reaching out to her, as I wrote in my thing to you. It was such a blessing. And I think parents have to hold on to that fact that God is good and he hears our prayers, and the prayers of mothers and fathers for their children is really needed right now to protect them from what's out there, for sure.
Okay. Again, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there's a place for technology today. For one thing, it gets the gospel to the ends of the earth in an instant. But like everything else that isn't in balance, it can take over a life and turn it very, very dark.